Hello, Rocket here, and today we're going to be talking about viruses. Are they good or are they bad? Now, what is a virus? Well, viruses aren't classified as living things because they have no organelles, but viruses have a protein coat around them. What does a virus do? Well, what a virus does is it infects something, and then that thing infected makes the virus multiply, and then the viruses keep infecting other things. That's how the viruses grow. There's no splitting in half. Viruses just grow by infecting things, then that infected thing makes it multiply. Now let's talk about some famous viruses. Now, first let's talk about probably the most famous one currently, Ebola. Now, how did the Ebola outbreak start? Now, we believe that the Ebola outbreak started in Guinea in 2014. And of course, then it moved on to Sierra Leone, Liberia, and of course, Nigeria. Now, its symptoms are fever, sore throats, muscular pain, headaches, diarrhea, and bleeding. A vaccine has been introduced, but it's still experimental. Now, next, let's talk about rabies. Now, rabies is very popular with raccoons and bats. If you get bitten by a rabid animal, then you will pretty much die unless you get the vaccine immediately. The vaccine has to be given to you immediately after you get bit, or else, of course, you will die. Rabies has such a high death rate because, of course, the symptoms start just whacking in after you get bit. Now, people who have rabies, they become hydrophobic, which is the fear of water, because they cannot swallow because there's so much pain in their throat. So they become hydrophobic, so they can't drink liquid, and that's, of course, really bad. Also, people with rabies show signs of aggression. But also there's this thing called dumb rabies. It's another symptom. There's two rabies symptoms you can get, dumb rabies or fierce rabies. The most common one is fierce rabies, that's what we all know, but yeah. Now next up is the adenovirus. Now there's a bunch of different types of adenoviruses, there's a bunch of different species, but adenovirus is the most common virus. Have you ever had a cold? Have you ever had pink eye? Well, that's an adenovirus. They don't do damage to your body. They just do tiny minor symptoms. Of course, you all know what a cold is. Stuffy nose, sore throat. It's not that big of a deal. Of course, you all know what pink eye is. Pink eye, and you get a lot of eye boogers. So, adenoviruses aren't really anything. They're just little viruses that come and go. Now next up is the influenza virus, or the flu virus. This is probably the most known virus, because it's the one virus where you have to get vaccines every single year. Now next up is the HIV virus. Now this is the virus that everyone is scared of right now. The reason is because the HIV virus attacks the immune system, and it attacks white blood cells. So that means that the white blood cells can't try to destroy the HIV virus because it attacks it. There's also no vaccine. Now, I've been talking about a lot of bad viruses that do harm to you. But I think it's time to talk about one good virus. The bacteriophage. Now, years ago, if you cut your finger, you could die from that because the bacteria would infect it and then you would die. But then we found antibiotics. We used antibiotics way too much. And then the bacteria turned into superbugs, immune to antibiotics. And now, there can be a possibility that if you cut your finger now, you will die from that because there's superbugs, and then they infect you, and then boom, you're dead. But there's one other thing we can use. Bacteriophages. Now, what is a bacteriophage? Now, a bacteriophage looks like this. And what does a bacteriophage do? Now, what a bacteriophage does is it infects bacteria, and that bacteria explodes, and then more bacteriophages form out of that. So the phages keep doing that to all the bacteria, and then more and more phages form, and then it gets rid of bacteria. So bacteriophages are very good if you want to get rid of a disease from bacteria. But people might be asking, wait, but what if the superbugs become immune to phages? Now, number one, phages and bacteria have been having a battle for millions of years. And phages have always won. Phages have always evolved and found a way to destroy those bacteria and grow more. But if a superbug becomes immune to a phage, then its immunity to antibiotics kind of wears off. So that means we can use phages, and then when the superbugs are immune to that, we hit them back again with antibiotics. So phages are very good. Now, I have one more thing to tell you. I have trypanophobia, which is the fear of needles, injections, and blood draws. So I can't get vaccines because I'm too deathly scared of it. Now, to all of you non-vaccinators, vaccines are good, okay? What vaccines do is they put a weaker form of that virus into your body, and then that makes your white blood cells strong because they learn to fight off the virus. But, of course, as I said, I have trypanophobia, so I can't get vaccines because I have such an extreme case of trypanophobia. Even a picture of someone stabbing a needle into their arm gives me a panic attack. So, if you're not afraid, if you don't have a phobia of vaccines, then please get vaccinated, 'cause these viruses can kill, okay? I'm Rocket Zink, and I'll see you next time.
10, 9, 8,
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.